Hi, and welcome back to KXAN Plus. This is the Space episode with our KXAN space expert, Eric Henrickson. Eric, we're in our launch pad for all things cosmic. Are you ready to start?
Yeah, we're in the launch pad for
Look at our
all
cute
things
little
cosmic.
spaceship.
It does feel like a spaceship in here. We have spaceship vibes. We have 4 studios roughly in this place, and this is the most spaceshipy.
It is.
It
It's
feels the most-
tiny. It's dark.
Yeah.
We've got our space logos on the TVs.
Yeah, I feel like it's got an energy that I really appreciate. I like the space energy we have in this room. It's fun. Keep it fun. Keep it light.
It is
Keep
fun.
it exciting.
And today we are going to talk about one of the best meteor showers of the year.
Yes.
Almost here, right?
Yeah, it's this. Well, technically it's already here, but your chances of seeing it are low until this Saturday night.
Ooh.
It's the Geminid meteor shower. It runs December 4th through the December 20th. It happens every year at this time as we pass through a dust cloud in space, basically. For those of you who don't know how meteor showers work, the Earth orbits through space, and occasionally there are clouds of dusts. And this dust cloud that creates the Geminids happens to be in our path. And as we collide with it, that dust cloud, these little tiny particles of dust, I mean, it's literally like space dust, hits our atmosphere and burns up, and we get shooting stars. So this is your chance to see meteors if you'd like to see them. And they're pretty easy to see this time of year, especially because the moon's in the right spot. It doesn't come up till late in the night. And so early in the evening, you'll have a good chance of seeing it.
And does this have anything to do with the Gemini zodiac? Why is it called Gemini?
So that's a great question. I have an answer for it. So all the meteor showers are named after the constellation they appear to originate in. So this week, if you go look towards the constellation Gemini, it's the twins, that's where you'll see the meteors appearing to come from. That's just because that's where the cloud is. It just happens to be in that part of our sky. So it appears to be coming from the Gemini constellation. So they're named the Geminids. The Perseids come from the Perseus constellation. The Leonids come from the Leo constellation. So that's why they're named these. That's why whenever you see a meteor shower and has a fun name, it's named after the constellation. It also gives you a clue of where to look. Oh, I need to go find the Gemini constellation. And that's where I'm going to look for this one.
So if you are a Gemini, I suggest that you go out on Saturday to watch this because clearly the stars are aligning for you, right?
Right. And you're going to have some light cloud cover, it looks like, but hopefully it's not too bad. And you can get outside the city and get even a better view. So, but also if the clouds, we have pretty much cloudless nights the next few nights, according to our weather forecasts, that you can go out a little, not quite on Saturday night, but this week and just take a look and you might see some.
Interesting.
So good chance to see a shooting star.
So Saturday, what time, what area, where should they look for this specific meteor shower?
So you should look around 8:30 to 9, right as it gets dark. Right as it would get dark in the summer, but a couple hours after dark, 8:30 to 9. Look towards the east, towards the Gemini constellation. You'll see Jupiter. Jupiter will be the brightest planet. It'll look like a star, but it'll be a bright planet in the sky. 3 of them are right in that same area right around that time, and you'll start seeing them kind of like cone out, streak towards you, and then you can look around you and you'll be able to see them just kind of flying past in a cool way. I spoke with Laura Akins from UT's Department of Astronomy about the Geminids, and there's actually a really cool fun fact we talked about. It isn't created, most meteor showers are created from a trail of a comet. This one's different. It's from an asteroids trail.
Ooh, that's cool.
Yeah, so here, take a look at this interview I did with her last week. My hair is longer in it, so that will explain some questions you might have. So the Geminids is here. It's peaking later this week. Tell us about this meteor shower. What makes it special, and why do we know it happens every year at this time? What's the logic behind it?
It's one really good shower that it's kind of more bedtime friendly for kids, is how I like to describe it, because most meteor showers, you look for the point in the constellation that the meteors appear to come from. That's where their names usually come. This one, you can kind of guess by the name Geminids, comes from the constellation Gemini. And so that whole constellation is above the horizon by between like 8 and 9 p.m. So you can potentially start to see, meteors coming out of it by that time. Whereas a lot of showers, the constellation they appear to come from isn't up until like midnight or 1 a.m. So you have to wait to really, potentially see the good peak activity until much, much later in the night. The Geminids, you can actually really start to see them by 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night, which is nice. And especially since it gets dark so early right now, this time of year, that helps too. Geminids are also very reliable. They're a good shower that also very often produces over 100 to 150 meteors an hour at the peak. Admittedly, those numbers are more for darker skies. So if you're in the heart of Austin, don't expect to see that many. But if you're out in a darker location and your eyes have adapted to being in the dark where you can see the fainter things a little bit better, you can definitely see a lot more. And with this particular shower, see up in the 100 to maybe even 200 meteors an hour. It comes regularly because the Earth is actually passing through a point in its orbit where it goes through a debris stream that's left behind by the parent body of this particular shower. Now, for most meteor showers, it's a comet that does that. But the Geminids are weird. They actually have a parent body that seems to be more like an asteroid than a comet. I think it is officially classified as an asteroid, but it's not like we all picture the diagram of the solar system, and you've got that main belt of asteroids between the orbits of Mars and Jupiter. This isn't one of those. This one has a very weird orbit. And so it actually goes from a little beyond Mars in towards the inner solar system, actually passes close to the sun within the orbit of Mercury. So it actually has a very different orbit. And it does cross through our orbit in that path that it makes. And so when we slam through that debris stream that it is left behind in there, that's when we get the meteor shower. And it just reliably happens this time of year because that's when we're in that point in our orbit going through that debris stream.
With something like the Perseids, which we had earlier this year, we passed through a comet, but that comet is pretty. I mean, that's like 100-year comet, more than 100 years, right? Between that
Yeah.
in that orbit. This asteroid, how quick is its orbit? Is it a relatively quick orbit?
It is. It's actually has about like a year and a half long orbit. It's much shorter. And there are some short period comets that are also associated with meteor showers. I can't remember some specifics off the top of my head. Probably one of the more famous ones is the parent body for the Leonids. I think it comes through every 30-ish years or so. The nature of the object itself is, how much debris is coming off of it, being that it's more like an asteroid than a comet. Because with comets, we're kind of used to seeing the dust tails and the gas tails and the material left behind. But with an asteroid, we know asteroids do have these like dusty surfaces because we've now sent probes that have either landed or taken up close pictures of them. So we do understand that surface a little bit better. So we know there's stuff to fall off, but it's just how much is that compared to what you would get off of a comet. So this is still a really interesting shower because we are sort of learning more about these kind of weird asteroids that kind of behave like comets, but also kind of behave like asteroids. They're a little strange.
Perseids had a bad year this year because the moon was super
Yeah.
bright. But
Mhm.
the Geminids are going to be a little luckier. The
Mhm.
moon's pretty dark, and the only thing we
Yeah.
have to worry about is the weather. So if people want to see these, where do they need to go? Where do they need to look? And if the weather cooperates, if
Yeah.
the moon stays how it's supposed to, unless some catastrophic thing happens.
Let's hope not.
But where do
Uh,
people need to go? Where do they need to look?
Generally speaking, anywhere a little darker than maybe in like the middle of downtown Austin is good. Just get somewhere a little darker. But if you're in the suburbs, you're probably still okay from your own backyard. The Geminids will appear, like we said earlier, to appear to come from a point in the constellation Gemini, which rises in the east by I think it's fully above the horizon by 8:30 to 9, somewhere in there. And the meteors will radiate from a point near one of the two bright stars in the constellation Gemini. So it gets its name Gemini, the twins, because of the stars Castor and Pollux that are the twins. And you'll actually have a fun little third thing in there. Jupiter is also in there with them this year. So Jupiter will actually probably be the first thing you spot because it's going to be so bright. And then you'll see these two bright stars near it. So the meteors will be appearing to come from that point, and then they'll streak anywhere from that point. So you can look towards the radiant, but you don't necessarily have to because they're going to streak all over the place. But they'll just sort of be coming out from that point. The way we always like to describe it is if those rare occasions that we're driving through snow in Texas. You're driving straight, but all of the snowflakes appear to be coming out in all directions around you. That's that same effect. It's that they're streaking all around you. So as you mentioned, the moon isn't going to interfere a whole lot with this year's Geminids. So The moon actually doesn't rise till about 2:30 a.m. the night of the peak. So that means any of the viewing before that, you're not going to have that moonlight. And even when the moon does come up, it'll only be about a quarter illuminated. So it won't be as bright as like you get with a full moon, say. It will still somewhat interfere if especially if you're in a dark site where you have adapted to the dark. That extra moonlight will kind of wash things out a little bit. One trick you can do is that the moon will come up in the east, so start facing towards the west, so where the moon's more behind you, and that'll kind of help you a little bit.
So it'll be clearly facing towards the west. You need to watch the west if you're trying to look at it.
Super, super late.
Super
So
super
once
late,
the moon
around
comes
12
up-
a.m., right?
Yeah, once the moon's up, you need to look towards the west. Before that, you can look towards the east.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And you mentioned before in some of our earlier episodes about a observatory here in Austin.
Yeah.
Would that be a good place for people to watch it?
So they have ended their showings this fall or this
Dang
winter.
it.
Till they'll pick up again. Yeah, unfortunately. Laura is with them. That's how I met Laura. I went to the observatory one time, and she helps the outreach and does the tours and stuff. But yeah, they ended because school is wrapping up. So they usually wrap up for like a few weeks here in the winter, and they open back up in the summer again. You can see them downtown, but it'll be a little harder. What I would do is just go to like.
Where there's no light pollution.
Yeah, you could even go as far. I mean, you don't even go as far past like Dripping or something. Just like, I mean, even like south suburbs of Austin, like Manchac area.
Del Valley.
You can see them. Del Valley, yeah. You don't have to go that. You don't have to go all the way out into nowhere because there's so many of them. And they're pretty bright. Mm-hmm. But you need to get like right out of downtown. You need to be out of the central. And that unfortunately that observatory is in the middle of downtown.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I would just go out, just try to get out of the cloud cover as best you can. Like I said, it looks like there's going to be some, but. Until then, just look towards the east.
Interesting. And make sure that there's not too many clouds out in the sky.
Yeah, and then looking at the forecast, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, there's stuff coming back in. I don't know how much is going to be here. I honestly, we'll find out closer to the days. It's pretty far out, 5 days out. But once we're there, we'll know better. But even then, up until then, you'll be able to see them, and then after that, you'll be able to see them too. So we have clear nights the next few nights. I mean, look at the beautiful image behind you right now.
Yeah,
that's
very clear right now.
Clear skies. So over the next few nights, keep an eye out, and then on Saturday night, take a look.
Take your
Look at the shower.
binoculars out or your
Does
telescope.
anyone have binoculars anymore?
I do.
You do?
I have them in my garage.
I forget you're a birder. The big birder right here.
The big birder.
But yeah, no, I don't. Yeah, you can keep binoculars out. Telescope. I do have a telescope, a small one. And you just look around. But you can honestly, naked eye, you can just look up and see them.
And they're supposed to like come towards you, right?
Yeah, if you look towards the east, they'll like...
Spit right next to you.
Yeah. And it's about 100, 150 an hour.
Wow.
So, more than one a minute. So
Don't miss it. Does this happen every year?
Yes, the Geminids happen every year, which is one of the reasons I like them so much. Those and the Perseids are consistent and easy to see, and they're the big ones.
And we missed those earlier.
Perseids, it happened, the moon was up, so it was harder to see them. This one, moon's down, a little bit of clouds in the sky, but you're going to have a better chance of seeing these for sure this year.
And why is it that we need a full moon to see them more clear?
Well, you want a new moon.
A new moon.
Dark skies.
Dark skies.
A full moon.
Full moon is too bright.
Too bright, yeah.
Yeah.
Too bright.
Do we have a new moon coming up soon?
It's not quite a new moon. It's like a quarter, I think, or like a crescent. She and I talked about this off camera, but it was it's not quite a new moon, but it's not a full moon, and it's like not even a half moon. It's like the one before that, I think. Yeah, I think it's like a crescent, and it's on the way, but it doesn't show up till early morning on Sunday. So you have a few hour window.
So stay up late and step outside and watch the shower.
8:39. I don't know what time you go to bed, but I hope it's not. I mean, I hope it's not 9 o'clock, but I don't think it's 9 o'clock.
Sometimes I crash and I go to bed at 9 o'clock.
Crashing is different than going to bed. It's like
it's the same thing.
No, I feel like when you crash, it's like your body's just like
forcing you.
Yeah, it's like it's time. Go to bed. It's that kind of thing.
Turn the lights off.
It turns into your dad just yelling, "Go to bed. Close your eyes. Close your mouth. And go to bed."
Yeah.
Stop talking so much. That's an insight into my childhood. I had a lot of energy. Shock.
At work, and then you go home and you crash.
Then I crash. Now, when I was a kid, I had all the energy at home, and now I have all the energy here at work. Mm-hmm. So, things change. But let's talk about something else.
Yeah, the Martian dust devils. What is that?
So we have the Perseverance rover on Mars right now, and one thing that they detected was signs of electricity on the surface.
What?
Yes, they started seeing signs of electricity, sparks and lightning, but not lightning because you can't have lightning.
With no weather.
There's no weather, right? Well, and there is, but it's not like ours. The atmosphere is very thin. Because of that thin atmosphere, you can't get clouds, you can't get precipitation, you can't get lightning. However, there is enough air and there is enough atmosphere for you to get dust devils, and those create sparks. And Roger Weens from Purdue University is in charge of the camera that's on the Perseverance rover, and he talked to the Associated Press about what they've discovered, and it's pretty cool. So here, take a look at this interview.
I'm Roger Weens. I'm a professor of planetary science. I am also the principal investigator, or in other words, scientific leader of the SuperCam instrument on the Perseverance rover on Mars, and I'm here at Purdue University. The Perseverance rover landed on Mars in 2021, so we've been there for 4 years. And one of the instruments on the Perseverance rover is called SuperCam. It sits way up at eye level on what we call the mast of the rover. And it does a lot of images from there, and it uses a laser to interrogate rocks and soils. But we also added a microphone on that instrument, and we've used that microphone extensively, making recordings on Mars just about every day. And so now we have some very fruitful information coming out of that microphone. So several years ago, we already reported that the Mars rover Perseverance had a dust devil passing right over it. And the SuperCam instrument has a microphone. We could actually hear the sound of that wind coming and the whirlwind, both directions of the wind. And at the same time, the environmental sensors were on, so we could actually detect the drop in pressure that went down and then back up to normal as that passed overhead. Just like a hurricane, it's a whirlwind or a dust devil. They're like miniature hurricanes. They have lower pressure, and so we could detect all of that happening at the same time. Well, during that dust devil, and then also on several other occasions when a large amount of dust passed over the rover, we heard little snap sounds on the microphone. And so this was analyzed subsequently to try to understand what was going on. And what the scientists on my team figured out is that we have two different kinds of signals that are happening. And those two signals represent, first of all, radiostatic, because there's a wire and it picks up electromagnetic noise just like a radio does when there's a lightning strike nearby. And that radiostatic made a little snapping sound, but then we would actually hear sound from a spark. A little snapping sound itself, and those two were slightly offset in time. The reason is because it takes a little while for the sound to travel to the microphone, but the radio interference comes practically immediately at the speed of light. And the combination of those two really helped us to conclude that we were hearing sparks on Mars because the spark is making that radio noise as well, and it gave us the distance to that spark by the delay. So it was really ingenious to actually hear and detect these two signals on the same instrument as a part of SuperCam. So is there lightning on Mars? No, not really. Lightning on Earth is generated from clouds and from rain and precipitation. We don't have, certainly don't have rain on Mars currently. There was in the past. But clouds have to lose some precipitation in order to change the charge balance, and that just doesn't happen enough on Mars. So Mars doesn't have big scale lightning like Earth, it just has these little sparks. This is interesting on Mars because Mars has a thinner atmosphere than the Earth, and it's actually easier to create sparks. But we do know that even on Earth, when there are dust devils, the electromagnetic field, electric field increases significantly as a dust devil passes over somewhere. Not usually enough to create a spark on Earth, but Because of the lower pressure on Mars, we expected that Mars might have sparks in its dust devils. We just never seen or sensed or heard them before. We didn't understand the nature of some of the chemistry on Mars, and now we understand where some of the more reactive molecules come from that are in the Mars soil and came originally from reaction with the atmosphere, which was then, you could say, pun intended, charged by these sparks on Mars. The Perseverance.
So he said it was not a lightning strike.
Right. Mars is basically a giant balloon that is rubbing itself on the hair of this metaphor went off the rails.
What?
You know, like balloons, like when you rub them,
Yeah.
these little sparks.
Static.
Right. It's kind of like those little static discharges caused by the dust devils are the hair, and Mars is the balloon. See, I found it.
I get it.
I found the metaphor in there. Yeah, so you're not gonna have lightning on Mars, but this kind of shows some of the weather on Mars, and so that's kind of an idea of what happens when we're there. We'll get these little static discharges, these little pops.
And the dust devils, do they look like the dust devils that we see here in our Earth?
Yes, they're like taller. The air is very thin. You know when you see like in movies, there's like a big dust storm, and they're like, "Oh no, the dust storm!" That doesn't happen because the atmosphere is so thin. It's kind of just like, "Oh no, a dust storm!" And so the dust devils themselves, they don't really have like density to them, so it's not as bad.
Interesting. But this is not the only topic we're talking about. You had 3 topics today.
I always like to bring 3.
We touched
I
on
like
the
to keep us
first
busy.
one.
Let's talk about sugar in space.
Sugar in space.
Sugar in space. So a few years ago, mankind sent the OSIRIS-REx spacecraft to the asteroid Bennu. It's one of the few times we've landed on an asteroid. The Japanese space agency did that a few years before. And on Bennu, we collected samples off of this asteroid. This is an asteroid that it's very prototypical of other asteroids. I was talking to some researchers, and they said that there's like a pyramid of all the asteroids in our solar system. It fits into several. It's like the one that matches all these like different categories, but there's a bunch of different stuff that is connected to it. So it's a pretty common type of asteroid. It's called Bennu, and on Bennu they took these samples, and they recently announced, like in the last week or two, they announced all these new revelations, including the discovery of amino acids and sugars. These are the building blocks of life.
I was going to say of cells, right?
Right. And so I took a closer look at that, and we have that full story right now. A mystery from beyond the stars.
Bennu is kind of unlike anything that we have here on Earth.
Bennu, a small asteroid 97 million miles from Earth. In 2023, NASA returned from the rock, bringing back untainted samples and a revelation.
We found 14 of the 20 amino acids used to build proteins, and all 5 nucleobases that make up the genetic code in DNA and RNA.
One of the amino acids discovered, tryptophan, the thing that makes you sleepy when you eat turkey.
I think it's really cool. I don't know how to say it more eloquently than that.
Romy Hanna is a research associate with UT Austin's Jackson School of Geosciences and a participating scientist of the OSIRIS-REx mission to Bennu. She says this asteroid and others like it are similar to many meteorites that fall to Earth, but
they're unique because of the sugars and the other organics. They're unique because we've found these like really weird salts.
Likely created as water on the asteroid evaporated.
It reminded us a little bit of lake beds on Earth.
Bennu is just one piece of the puzzle to the origins of life. Similar asteroids are everywhere.
It implies that this unique sample that we've returned, which we don't really have on Earth, there's a lot of it out there, and it dominates the material in the solar system.
In Austin, Eric Henrickson, KXAN News.
Salt and sugar?
Salt and sugar.
Salt and sugar.
And the amino acids. And then my other thing that I didn't put in the story, but I like to mention here, they also found a gum-like substance that was referred to as space gum.
Ew.
But what it is, it's like a soft, kind of like semi-flexible polymer that contains some of the same stuff that's used to jumpstart life on Earth a few million years ago. So they found that on this asteroid as well. So a lot of cool discoveries on Bennu and lots on the way.
Is this one of the asteroids we were tracking thinking that it had life on it? What was that asteroid
that
called?
was Osiris. No, that's not Osiris ship. That is 3i Atlas. That
3i
you
Atlas.
keep saying is aliens.
Well, imagine if they found this on there.
Right.
Then it really would be.
People would lose their minds, excited about the possibilities. But here it just shows you this type of asteroid's really common. There was a phrase researcher Romy Hanna used that was like carbonization. Basically, there's carbon symbols like carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide on the asteroid, and because of that, you could tell a little bit like, hey, stuff like there's water maybe here that has melted off. There's salt. There's all this cool stuff happening on this asteroid. There's a bunch of them like this. So this shows that the ingredients of life are a lot more common than we thought.
Yeah, and it's interesting to think about that's how we started here on Earth, and there was possibly that gum-like material that
in our oceans, and then that was used to kind of precipitate single-cell organisms.
Wow.
So it's, the life finds a way.
Yeah, it always does. So what's next for them after discovering all of this
More
stuff?
research. There was a lot of samples taken, a lot of studying still to do. And Romy works on the geology of it. So she was doing some of the stuff in the flybys and has since got her hands on some of the samples. And so now she's going to look at more samples.
That's
Hopefully
exciting.
Learn more stuff.
Well, that's all we have for this episode of The Space Space. It's been a jam-packed episode. These were all great topics, and I learned something new. I'm sure a lot of people did.
That's what we're aiming for. We got a couple more weeks left in the year. I think 2 more episodes left this year. And hopefully some cool stuff coming up.
Hopefully
I have a stack of emails of things I'm like, these are cool, and me flag them for later. So I have a couple things I was kind of noodling. And we'll see which noodle I decide to cook.
Well, let's end the year with some aliens, please.
No.
Discover
maybe.
them. Go out
we'll see
there.
What happens. We got 2 weeks left. There's a lot of time left to discover aliens in the next 2 weeks.
Hopefully, we can find them.
Hopefully.
Well, thank you for joining me, Eric.
Thank you for having me.
That's all we have here for the Space Space. I'm your host, and if you want more great conversations like this, go to our KXAN Plus streaming app. It's completely free to download on any TV app store that you have or any streaming device that you use. And don't forget to check us out on KXAN.com for the latest news. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week.